All right, so buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into the wild world of altcoins.
Altcoins, yeah, they're having a moment, aren't they? It's pretty wild to see them in the spotlight while Bitcoin kind of takes a back seat.
Yeah, it is pretty surprising to see Bitcoin taking a breather like this, but hey, more room for altcoins to shine, right? So to guide us through this crazy crypto landscape, we've got analyses from FX Empire and Bitcoinist.com, and we even have some Ethereum price predictions from CoinMarketCap. Those go all the way to 2025. Wild stuff.
Oh yeah, those long-term predictions always get people talking, don't they?
Yeah.
So I guess our mission today is to figure out why these altcoins are pumping so hard, what their technicals look like, and, most importantly, are those price predictions even remotely realistic?
Realistic, who knows, in this market. But yeah, we'll try to make some sense of it all. Okay, so first let's talk about the elephant in the room, or I guess the Bitcoin that isn't down in the room. Everyone was waiting for it to hit that $100,000 mark, but it just hasn't happened yet. And it seems like that's given altcoins the chance to make their move.
Yeah, it's almost like Bitcoin's hesitation has created this vacuum and all these other coins are rushing in to fill it. A good example is XRP. It pumped something like 400% last week, although I think we're seeing some profit taking happening now.
Yeah, that XRP pump was insane. It was like watching a rocket take off. But here's the thing that I find really interesting. All that money flowing out of XRP, it doesn't seem to be going back into Bitcoin. That seems to hint at a shift in sentiment, right? Like maybe investors are starting to look beyond Bitcoin for the next big thing.
Yeah, potentially. And, when it comes to the next big thing, a lot of people point to Ethereum. It's often seen as the main contender to Bitcoin's crown, and it's been making some pretty strong moves lately.
For sure. And speaking of strong moves, FX Empire has a really interesting analysis. They're saying that Ethereum is breaking out of this multi-year symmetrical triangle pattern on the weekly chart. And that's kind of similar to what we saw with XRP right before it pumped.
Ah, the symmetrical triangle. Classic chart pattern. It often signals that a big move is coming. And the fact that it's a multi-year pattern for Ethereum, well, that suggests there's been a lot of pressure building up, and now it's finally releasing.
Right, it's like a pressure cooker. And FX Empire isn't shying away from making some big price predictions. They're talking about Ethereum hitting $4,000 by December, maybe even $4,090. And if the buying pressure really ramps up, they think it could go as high as $4,920. Pretty wild, huh?
I mean, those are ambitious targets for sure. But when you look at the current momentum in the market, and when you consider Ethereum's strong fundamentals, well, they're not completely out of the question. But of course, there's always a downside risk. FX Empire acknowledges that. If this breakout fails, ETH could drop to $3,440 or even as low as $2,980.
Okay, so there's definitely some risk involved, but the potential reward is huge. Now, Bitcoinist.com also had some interesting things to say about Ethereum. They've been pointing out how stable it's been around the $3,700 level, even with all the recent volatility in the market. What do you think about that?
Well, that stability is definitely worth noting. It suggests that there's some real underlying strength there, maybe even a level of investor confidence that's independent of what Bitcoin's doing. And then you've got these strong inflows into spot Ethereum ETFs, specifically Fidelity's ETH and BlackRock's ETH. That's institutional money coming in, which is always a big deal.
Yeah, when the big institutions start taking an interest, things are getting serious. So Bitcoinist.com, kind of like FX Empire, they're also seeing a potential breakout above $3,800. And they say that could push ETH toward $4,000, or even, get this, as high as $7,346.
Yeah, some analysts are super bullish on Ethereum. It's pretty amazing. And then you've got those 2025 price predictions that CoinMarketCap compiled. Some of them are even higher than that. Deltec Bank, for example, they're predicting ETH will hit $10,000 in 2025. Their conservative estimate is $9,000, which is still a huge jump.
$10,000. That seems to be a popular target. Standard Chartered is even more optimistic. They're saying at least $14,000 by the end of 2025. And they specifically mention the approval of those spot Ether ETFs and Ethereum's recent network upgrades as reasons for their bullishness.
Right. Those upgrades were a big deal. And they even hinted that in the long run, if Bitcoin hits $175,000, ETH could reach $35,000. That's pretty wild. They're basically saying they believe Ethereum could eventually overtake Bitcoin.
Whoa, flip the script. That would be a massive shift in the crypto landscape. But it's not just the banks making these predictions. You've got well-known traders like Gigantic Classic Rebirth, or GCR, who also believes ETH will hit $10,000 in 2025.
Yeah, GCR is a big name in this space. And he seems to be really focused on Ethereum's role in DeFi and how quickly blockchain technology is being adopted. Which makes sense given how much DeFi relies on ETH.
Totally. But it's important to remember that not everyone is quite so bullish. Finder analysts, for example, they surveyed 50 experts, and their average prediction for ETH in 2025 is $6,105. Still a big increase, but a bit more grounded compared to some of those other predictions.
Right, so maybe a little bit of healthy skepticism is a good thing, even with all this positive sentiment. But even Goldman Sachs has chimed in. They're predicting that ETH will eventually overtake Bitcoin as a store of value, though they haven't given a specific price target for 2025.
Wow, even Goldman Sachs is on the Ethereum train. So with all these technical analyses and all these expert opinions, it's hard not to get excited. But the big question is, are these ETH targets actually realistic? What factors could push its price higher? Or lower, for that matter? I mean, where do we even begin to unpack all of this?
Well, I think a good place to start is Ethereum's recent transition to a proof-of-stake consensus mechanism. That was a major development. It reduced energy consumption significantly, made the network more scalable, and basically paved the way for even more innovation. That's a huge plus for Ethereum.
Yeah, that transition was a game changer. Everyone was talking about it.
It really was. And it positions Ethereum really well for future growth. Another thing to consider is the continued growth of the decentralized finance ecosystem, which is mostly built on Ethereum. As DeFi becomes more popular, it could drive a ton of demand for ETH.
Right, because the more people use DeFi apps, the more ETH they need.
Exactly. But we can't ignore the challenges either. Ethereum is facing increasing competition from other Layer 1 blockchains. Projects like Solana, Cardano, and Avalanche, they're all trying to get a piece of the pie.
So it's not a guaranteed win for Ethereum. It has to keep innovating to stay ahead.
Absolutely. And then there's the regulatory uncertainty that always hangs over the crypto world. Governments are still figuring out how to regulate this space. And any restrictive measures could definitely impact Ethereum's growth.
It's a tough balancing act for governments. They want to encourage innovation, but they also want to protect investors.
Yeah, for sure. And then you can't forget about the overall macroeconomic environment. Inflation, interest rates, global economic growth, all of that plays a role in how investors feel about risk assets, like cryptocurrencies. It's a complicated web of interconnected factors.
Right. It's not just about the tech. The bigger picture matters too. So even though the technical outlook for Ethereum looks good and the long-term predictions are exciting, it's important to be aware of the potential risks and challenges. This market is known for its volatility, and there are no guarantees.
That's why it's so important for everyone to do their own research, understand their risk tolerance, and not just blindly follow headlines or predictions. Dig deeper into the fundamentals, the technology, the ecosystem, the challenges. That's how you make smart decisions.
Couldn't agree more. Knowledge is power in this space. Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about another contender in the altcoin arena, Ethereum Classic, or ETC. This one's had kind of a roller coaster ride, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. ETC has had a pretty interesting journey.
FX Empire is saying that ETC might be about to break out from an ascending parallel channel. They're seeing upside targets of $38.96, $43.70, and even $44.82. However, there's this big historical resistance level around $39.28 that's caused some sharp declines in the past.
Yeah, that resistance level is like a psychological barrier. It's something ETC has really struggled to break through before. It'll be interesting to see if it can finally overcome it this time.
For sure. And FX Empire says that if this resistance holds, ETC could drop to $23.50. But if it breaks through, we could see a rally all the way up to $54.50. Talk about a make-or-break moment for ETC.
Technical analysis can be really helpful for identifying these potential turning points in the market. But it's only one piece of the puzzle.
So given this historical pattern, how risky would you say ETC is right now?
Well, every investment has some risk. But ETC's history definitely adds another layer of uncertainty. You got to weigh the potential rewards against the risks and think about your own investment goals and risk tolerance. It's a personal decision.
All right, let's move on to Binance Coin, or BNB. This is the native token of the world's largest crypto exchange.
BNB is an interesting one because its fate is so closely tied to the Binance exchange.
Yeah, and speaking of interesting things, FX Empire points out that BNB has broken out from a long-term cup and handle pattern. That's usually a really bullish signal, right?
Yeah, the cup and handle is a classic pattern. It often means that an uptrend is going to continue. To really understand why it's considered bullish, we need to look at how it forms.
Okay, walk me through it.
So the cup part of the pattern is a rounding bottom. The price goes down gradually and then recovers, and it kind of looks like a cup. The handle is a shorter period of consolidation that comes after, kind of like a handle on the cup. The breakout happens when the price breaks above the upper trend line of the handle, and that signals that the uptrend is resuming.
So it's like the price is gathering energy during that consolidation period, and then bam, it explodes out with renewed force.
Exactly. The volume during the breakout is important too. A strong breakout usually comes with a surge in trading volume, which confirms that the move is real.
It's not just about the pattern, but also the conviction behind it.
That's right. Now, for BNB, this particular cup and handle setup is suggesting a potential price target of $2,500 by 2025.
Whoa, $2,500. That's a huge jump. But FX Empire also mentioned some short-term resistance at the $783 level, with support levels around $722 and $694 and $667.
Yeah, those levels will be important to watch. They could tell us whether BNB can keep going up. But it's important to remember that Binance has been facing some regulatory challenges lately.
True, that's been in the news quite a bit. How do you think those regulatory issues could affect BNB's performance?
It's hard to say for sure, but regulatory scrutiny always creates uncertainty, and that can make investors nervous. How Binance handles these challenges will be a big factor in BNB's future.
So it's not just about the charts, the fundamentals matter too.
Absolutely. The health and the reputation of the Binance exchange will play a big role in BNB's long-term prospects.
Okay, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's touch on two more coins that have been making some noise. Pepe coin, or PEP, and a brand new coin called Minotaurus, or MTU.
The world of meme coins and new token launches. Always a risky but potentially very rewarding area.
You said it. Bitcoinist.com is reporting that there's been significant whale accumulation in PPE, and they're predicting a potential 7x price surge.
Whale accumulation basically means that large holders, the whales, are buying up a lot of a particular cryptocurrency. And that can be a bullish signal because it suggests that these big players believe in the coin.
They're not just messing around, they're making strategic moves.
Right. These whales have the resources to do a ton of research and analysis, and their actions often influence what everyone else does. Bitcoinist.com even gave short-term and mid-term price targets for PPE, 0.000000034. Now, Minotaurus, or MTR, is brand new, and it's currently in pre-sale. They're aiming for a 5,000% gain for early investors. They're marketing MTR as a utility token for the blockchain gaming ecosystem, which sounds pretty ambitious. New token launches are always risky. You have to be really careful. It's super important to research the project, the team, the token's utility, everything. Don't just jump in blindly. A lot of new projects fail.
So when it comes to these newer, more speculative coins, what are your thoughts on the risks and rewards?
Well, the potential for huge gains is definitely there, but you have to approach these investments with extreme caution. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. The crypto market is highly speculative, and losses are going to happen. Do your research, really understand the project, the technology, the team, everything, and be prepared for volatility. These types of coins can go up and down like crazy.
So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride. But before we get to those wild rides, let's take a quick break and come back for part 2 of our deep dive into altcoins.
Sounds good. We'll pick up where we left off and explore even more fascinating corners of the crypto market. Welcome back to our altcoin extravaganza. We've seen some pretty crazy price action and some seriously bold predictions already, but we're just getting warmed up.
Yeah, we're not done yet. There's a whole universe of altcoins out there just waiting to be explored.
Before we move on, though, I wanted to circle back to something we talked about earlier. Those Ethereum price predictions for 2025.
Oh, yeah. Those were pretty wild, weren't they? Some analysts are throwing out some huge numbers. But should we be taking those predictions as gospel?
Well, not necessarily. They are based on a lot of different factors like tech advancements, adoption rates, macroeconomic trends, all that stuff. But the thing is, the crypto market is inherently unpredictable. It's kind of like trying to predict the weather. You can look at patterns and data, but there's always a chance of a sudden storm.
So a grain of salt is needed. Don't bet the farm on any single prediction.
Exactly. They're useful for understanding the potential trajectory of the market, but they're not guarantees. The crypto market is influenced by so many things, both inside and outside the industry. You can never predict the future with 100% certainty. That's part of what makes it so exciting, but it also means you got to be cautious.
So what's the best approach? Should we just ignore those predictions completely?
I wouldn't say ignore them. They can be helpful for context, but view them as just one piece of the puzzle. Do your own research, understand why those predictions are being made, and come to your own conclusions. Don't just blindly follow someone else's forecasts.
That's solid advice. Always good to think for yourself. All right, you ready to jump back into the altcoin pool?
Lead the way. Which coin are we looking at next?
Let's talk about Tron, or TRX. It's been making some big moves lately, especially with Bitcoin kind of stalling out.
Yeah, Tron's been surging. I've seen reports of gains around 50%. It's definitely caught the eye of a lot of investors.
So what's driving this sudden interest in TRX? Is it just a reaction to Bitcoin's dip, or is there something more to it?
Well, Tron has really carved out a niche for itself in the decentralized entertainment and content sharing space. That positions it well to benefit from the growing interest in the metaverse and Web3, all that stuff.
So it's not just hype, there's an actual use case driving its growth.
Exactly. As those concepts become more mainstream projects like Tron that are building the infrastructure, well, they're going to attract attention.
It's all about positioning yourself for the future, and Tron seems to be doing just that.
And they're not stopping there. Tron's also been expanding its ecosystem through partnerships. They're doing stuff in DeFi, NFTs. It's a multifaceted platform, and that recent price action, well, it suggests that investors are taking notice.
So Tron's got its fingers in a lot of pies, from entertainment to DeFi. All right, let's switch gears and talk about another altcoin that's been on a roll. Litecoin, or LTC?
Litecoin, yeah, the silver to Bitcoin's gold. It's enjoying a resurgence in popularity.
It seems like every altcoin is having a party while Bitcoin takes a break.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Litecoin's been a favorite for a long time, because of its fast transactions and low fees. It's practical, efficient. A lot of people like that.
So Litecoin's appeal is really about its functionality as a payment system.
That's a big part of it. Litecoin has a proven track record. It's reliable, cost-effective. But its connection to Bitcoin also plays a role. Litecoin was created as a fork of the Bitcoin blockchain, so it inherits some of that credibility and familiarity.
So it's like the little brother riding on the coattails of its big brother.
Uh-huh. In a way, yeah. Litecoin often follows Bitcoin's price movements, although it tends to be more volatile, which can be good or bad depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, higher volatility, bigger gains, bigger risks. It's a trade-off. Speaking of trade-offs, let's move on to Cardano, or ADA. Cardano seems to take a slightly different approach compared to Tron or Litecoin.
That's true. What sets Cardano apart is its focus on a more scientific approach to blockchain development. Everything is guided by peer-reviewed research, academic scrutiny. It's kind of the brainy kid of the crypto world.
Very methodical, very deliberate. But does that translate into real-world results?
Well, Cardano's been steadily building its ecosystem, focusing on things like sustainability, scalability, interoperability. They're playing the long game, building a solid foundation. Their development is more measured, compared to some of the faster-moving projects.
So no rushing, just a steady, strategic approach.
Exactly. That doesn't mean they're not making progress, though. Cardano has achieved some big milestones recently, like launching their smart contract functionality. That opens up a lot of possibilities for dApps and stuff.
So Cardano is a platform with a lot of potential, but it might require a bit more patience from investors.
Yeah, Cardano's approach is less about quick gains, more about building for the future. Now, how about we talk about one more altcoin before we wrap up this part of our deep dive?
EOS.
EOS, another player in the smart contract platform space. What's their unique selling point?
EOS is all about high-performance decentralized applications. Speed and efficiency are their main focus. They want to handle a huge volume of transactions without sacrificing scalability. Scalability is key for mainstream adoption, right? If blockchain is going to go mainstream, it needs to be able to handle a ton of users.
Absolutely. And that's where EOS is trying to position itself as leader. Strong tech, growing community of developers, building all sorts of dApps on their platform.
So EOS is a project with a lot of potential, especially if the demand for those fast, efficient dApps keeps growing.
Definitely. EOS is worth keeping an eye on, especially as the competition among smart contract platforms intensifies.
Well, that wraps up part 2 of our altcoin exploration. We've covered a really diverse group of coins, each with their own strengths and challenges. From Tron's entertainment focus to Litecoin's practicality, Cardano's methodical approach, and EOS's emphasis on performance. It's clear that the altcoin landscape is incredibly dynamic and always changing.
And there's still more to come. In part 3, we're going to take a deeper look at what's driving this whole altcoin surge, analyze the risks and rewards of investing in this space, and talk about what the future might hold for these digital assets.
So stay tuned, everyone, for the final chapter of our crypto adventure. Welcome back, everyone. We're ready for the grand finale of our altcoin deep dive. We've covered a ton of ground, a whole bunch of different coins, each with their own unique story and potential. But now it's time to, step back and try to make sense of everything.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride, hasn't it? From Bitcoin's surprising slowdown to the rise of all these altcoins, it just shows how dynamic the crypto market really is. But yeah, it's a good time to try to connect the dots.
For sure. So the big question is, what's fueling this altcoin surge? Why are investors suddenly looking past Bitcoin? Is this just a temporary thing or something bigger happening, like a fundamental shift in the crypto world?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think there are a few things going on. We talked earlier about how Bitcoin's been kind of stuck lately, right? And that's definitely created an opportunity for altcoins. When king is weak, everyone starts looking for the next heir to the throne.
It's like a changing of the guard, a new generation rising up.
Exactly. But I think it's more than just Bitcoin's performance. The crypto market is maturing, and investors are getting smarter. They're not just chasing hype anymore. They're looking for projects with strong fundamentals, real-world uses, a clear vision for the future, that kind of stuff.
So it's not just about hype anymore. Investors are realizing that crypto has the potential to change industries, create new possibilities. It's not just about making a quick buck.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And altcoins are really at the forefront of this transformation. You've got coins focused on DeFi, gaming, supply chain management, even social media. It's like this explosion of innovation.
It's amazing to see this much variety and specialization. There's practically an altcoin for everything these days.
But that also brings up another question. How do we assess the risks and rewards of investing in altcoins? I mean, we've touched on this throughout our deep dive, but it's worth emphasizing, right?
Definitely. Like with any investment, there are risks involved with altcoins. Crypto is volatile, we all know that. And altcoins, because they're generally smaller and newer than Bitcoin, well, they can be even more volatile. That volatility can be exciting, but it also means you got to be prepared for some ups and downs. What advice would you give our listeners to help them manage those risks and make smart choices?
Well, first and foremost, do your research. Don't invest in anything just because of hype or what you see the price doing. You have to understand the project, the technology, the team, the market, the challenges. Due diligence is super important.
Knowledge is power, especially in a market as complex and fast-moving as crypto.
You got it.
Yeah.
And secondly, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify. Spread your investments across different projects with different levels of risk. That way, if one investment doesn't work out, you're not completely wiped out.
Classic investment advice. But it's super important in the crypto world.
And finally, never invest more than you can afford to lose. This is the golden rule no matter what you're investing in. Crypto is speculative. There are no guarantees. You got to have a solid financial plan, manage your risk, and don't let your emotions take over.
Wise words. So, with all that in mind, what's your overall outlook for the future of altcoins? Do you think this surge is sustainable, or is it just a temporary blip?
Well, if I could predict the future, I'd be sipping margaritas on a beach somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm cautiously optimistic about the long-term prospects of altcoins. There's so much innovation and creativity in this space. It's inspiring. I think altcoins are going to play a huge role in shaping the future of finance, technology, maybe even society as a whole.
It's not just about making money. It's about being part of something bigger, something that could change the world.
Exactly. Crypto is about so much more than just speculation. It's about disrupting industries, empowering people, creating new possibilities. And altcoins, with all their different uses and innovative approaches, they're leading the way.
It's definitely an exciting time to be involved in this space, to see all these new technologies emerging, the potential for real change.
For sure. The next few years will be crucial. I can't wait to see what happens, what new innovations we see, how this all plays out.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the altcoin surge. We've covered a lot, from chart patterns to blockchain technology, the future of finance. It's been a whirlwind.
It has been. I hope everyone listening has learned something new, maybe even discovered a new coin or project they want to explore further.
To all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this crypto adventure. Remember, approach the market with a balanced perspective. Do your research. Keep learning. The altcoin world is full of possibilities, and the future is being written right now. Who knows what amazing things are just around the corner?
That's right. The adventure's just beginning. Until next time, happy investing, everyone.